Hello YouTube, what's up? Chicken Fried Rice here, and I'm going to be bringing you guys a live commentary of a Ruse replay. So this game was very interesting because, well, I sort of did very well, but this is not it. It's because I usually do well as an individual, but now, what are we, like 30 seconds in the game, and two of my team members have disconnected, so I have to take over their operations. And the reason why I find this pretty impressive is also one of their guys leaves. Actually, it's the guy who's here for them that leaves. Actually, let me check. How about that? No, actually, not right away, but at one point when their guys will leave. But for the moment, I literally have to hold all of this half by myself, and this guy's got to take care of this little part. So right at the beginning I set up my little wall, and then later on I start a minute in, I realized that I have to start building here, so I start expanding, set up recon and all that. I put a decryption on this guy in front of me because I want to make sure he's not rushing me. My ally here, he's getting rushed, and he puts up a good defensive. And so the guy reconsiders his rush tactic because he was like, you know what, that guy's got a good army in front of him. So now I started having a really good supply chain right now, and so does my ally. He's got that, and all three of those. But I've got all of this supplies racking in. So I set up these defenses. I put fragile artillery position, and it's just because they're cheaper than getting pushkas actually. But they have less range, but they're as effective if you use them well. So it's all about micromanaging your economy. And what I do here is I push towards the middle and grab all the supplies, and eventually I start making admins. But my ally here, all he does for like half the game is build this huge ass army. Right now he has a huge army of light tanks. I swear I saw an assault gun in there. Yeah, he has one or two assault guns in there. So two Russians going up against the United States. Let's see what we've got. Russia going up against USA, Germany, Russia, and Germany. So it's very interesting. This guy didn't put up much of a fight. I don't know what was wrong with him, but he literally collapsed when I started bombarding him with artillery. He didn't even put a camo net. He just let himself be. For some reason, he just got completely destroyed. And as you can tell here, what I started doing is I started making a huge anti-aircraft wall, because everything here is available to be captured if I don't. And that's one of the things you have to make sure you do if you ever get to have to take control of your ally's base. So here, right here, my ally puts a flare because she's worried about these guys. So I send a couple of T-34s and advanced anti-tanks. And like I said, I love playing as Russia because their units are cheap and effective, so you just have to know how to use them. But here's the thing, these are actually light tanks, so my T-34 and my anti-tank guns took care of that really quickly. So now slowly I'm starting to build a wall, tanks a little bit everywhere in the gaps just to make sure no one goes through. But my anti-air wall isn't the best because this guy who's Russian is going to make a whole shitload of aircraft. So I'm not sure if that guy's given up yet, but let's check. Yeah. So he disconnected, and the main reason why this guy collapsed is because he did not pay attention to what was happening here. He didn't realize that the other guy had left the game. So then the American dude here, who's going to get really overwhelmed, like completely. My Russian ally here's got like the biggest army ever. He has the advanced tanks and all that. He's already doing prototype weapons. I didn't rush to make prototypes because I wasn't worried about that, but this guy's got everything down. And now he starts making anti-aircraft, so he's all good. He's gonna charge up, and literally what's gonna happen is he's just gonna keep building up like this until like 30 minutes in, and then he's just gonna blast through everyone. So me here, I decided to attack with what I had, and these advanced super heavy tanks, you would think, would kick the ass of my T-34s and my advanced anti-tank guns. Well, actually, it went the other way around. I kicked their ass pretty well. Look at this. This guy's like spending. I must have, like, seriously, I only wasted like $180 of tanks here, and I killed all of those little tanks there. And what ended up killing me is this infantry over here. That's what caused me to die, because anti-tanks are not that good against infantry. No, I had to lose a few anti-tank guns left. I didn't have any T-34s left, which were what I used to defend against the infantry. So, you know, I set up a new blockade here just to make sure no one gets through. In the meantime, my ally here is just making a shitload of super heavy tanks. And, you know, he's busy. He's making some prototype weapons. Nothing much, though. And he's starting to make admins. Me over here, I have so much money that, like, 15 minutes in, it's the most admins I've ever had in my life. 15 minutes into a game. It's insane. So, I start using my artillery. I move up with my infantry here, trying to create a little bit of foothold on this little part of the map here. I don't know, what should I call these? Because they're all like a bunch of islands. Yeah, so I'm trying to take over this island, let's say. Let's just call it that for now, because I don't really have anything better to call it. And so yeah, everything is going really smoothly, you know, trying to kick some. And so this guy still has infantry here in the city, which I never happened to notice, so I think I wasted like so many units sent into that city that all died. So here this Russian guy doesn't camo his base, big mistake, because that literally destroys the economy of artillery. And right now what you're seeing is I'm reinforcing all of this, because all of this is very vulnerable to attack, and it's a huge front. So whenever you guys are playing multiplayer, you should always split it up. You shouldn't make it that this guy just takes care of this little part, this guy does this, and this guy does that and that. So like that, you have a front, and everyone's aware of what's going to come. So like that, you have a very good front, and like they can't get through, because if I hadn't done this, these guys could have sent aircraft, done a paratrooper drop there without me realizing, and then just snuck around and captured my whole base. So I don't want that happening. So we're not there yet at this point in the game, but I made a little anti-aircraft facilities all over the maps like that I could pump out AA. And as you can tell, like, this guy seems like he has a bigger army, but I'm just spread out all over the place, and I'm just trying to keep things secure. So after a demonstration of this guy's air power, because he just took out like at least a dozen tanks and anti-tanks guns. So he just did that, and I was like, okay, this is an issue. So I started pumping out a crap load of anti-air towards here, armored too, and eventually what I'm going to do is I'm going to make airstrips with fighters only, because fighter bombers may be good, but fighters are their weakness. And if you know you can win the war on the ground, all you need the fighters for is to keep your air superiority going. But this guy has like a huge amount of fighter bombers, and as you can tell, he's just like killing this guy completely, while my ally's trying to keep up. But the Russian dude's got way too many planes for him. So, you know, right here, I'm just going, everything's fine. I got my pushkas here, and I'm sending all my anti-air units, a couple armored anti-tank. And here at this airfield, I just start pumping out fighters, because the Russian advanced fighters are only $20, so that's why I like them so much. Rather than making fighter bombers, just make these, protect the air, because I can use my artillery and all my ground units to take care of this. So now my ally's starting to make his push, slowly starting to take a bit of ground, you know. He's just preparing the huge invasion army, but he's got a couple of units, you know, ready to go through that bridge. Problem is, you never want to get bottlenecked on those bridges, because you'll get screwed around. So here my fighters are like taking care of his fighter bombers. Now he's aware that, you know, I have an air force and that I'm ready to fight back, because I had this huge army of like at least 10 tanks and 10 anti-tank destroyers, and he just blew that up like it was nothing with all his fighter bombers. So I decided to do that. I also made a secondary HQ and a anti-aircraft facility on the same time. Or, no, the secondary HQ comes in later, but I make a artillery base just to be able to make some AA to compensate, because I didn't have as many planes as he did, even though I had 2 airstrips filled with them. And I built a 3rd eventually, but at that point I wasn't completely focusing. I started making a bit more admins, and what I started doing too is I expanded here and grabbed all the supply depots I had access to, and later on, I don't feel like I had a big enough income, I grabbed all of this supply depots, all of these, and holy crap, does the money roll in, and then my army just springs out like huge ass. Although it is pretty big already, but you know. So now I'm starting to set up, you know, fighters are here, just making sure that my tanks are covered, and I have like so many anti-air guns. I didn't really build my army that I had. And this is when some of their team left. Now, the guy that I killed was already gone. Well, he surrendered, I guess. You know, he left. So it was no big deal. But then eventually some of these guys leave. You know, this guy is shit. I never knew. That's why I liked it. I didn't really ever pay attention to this because I thought this guy had it underhand, but I never ever saw this. I never knew this guy had such a huge army of Pershing's heavy tanks, so wow, that's impressive. I never knew about that. And he also has those super heavy tanks from the prototype base, so this guy was set to completely obliterate this guy. I don't know how he took care of that, but he figured it out pretty well, because we ended up winning very, very, very well. So, you know, I have this huge barrier here, so I just find it looks cool. The fact that I've got this huge wall of things, and then eventually he put a flare here to tell me about those tanks, but I never noticed, so that was my fault. And I just kept this, and then I send my pushkas out here to go do some bombardment on the Germans. And here I start making a prototype base, and now is when I start making prototype units. I don't know why, but every time I play, I always make prototype units so late in the game. I usually do it like once I have a solid foundation of economy. Like right now I've got all these admin buildings, and I've got these supply depots, and it's going to be like all over the map, all the supply depots I'm going to have later. But yeah, I always make the prototype weapons later on in the game, because when you play as Russia, all you need is T-34s, an artillery base that gives you armored AA, and then you also need some the advanced tank destroyers, and enough advanced tank destroyers will take care of like any problems you have. The advanced AT, well, armored AT, can take out advanced Pershing super heavy tanks without a problem, so you know, that wasn't a big issue. So now here's a confrontation. Let's watch this, because I didn't watch this originally. And huge fight. This guy's already losing because he's not using fanaticism, and the reason why is because this grid's probably already occupied by radio silence and by camo netting, so now he has access to fanaticism. So, you know, my ally here is falling to this guy, but he's got plenty of reinforcements. The problem is this guy was all he had. So that's what caused him to go down pretty quickly. And these guys focused on supporting these guys. They didn't even touch me in the middle. They just, this guy worked on me, and this guy just kept supporting this guy. But they didn't touch me whatsoever. And what these guys didn't realize is, if they would have committed the forces, they could have blasted through the middle and then flanked us from the back, because they would have just gone there and then come in his ass and come in my ass and literally fuck us over. So, you know, my ally here is just slowly moving up, and then this guy's got to rebuild his army. He's going to try and do that, but he's not going to be able to make it in time for my ally's huge ass army that's coming for him. And me, I'm just stagnating at this point. I'm just trying to get the most amount of supplies I can in. So I got a supply depot here now, here, there, everywhere. Anywhere I found supply depots, I built them, because I just wanted to have really lots and lots of cash rolling in, and so like that it would make admin buildings quicker. So I'm just firing these super long range artillery, and actually on this map these artillery guns don't go that far. And at this point in the game I split up my fighters, sent some to the middle because I got a feeling this guy's going to try and punch through, which I was completely wrong about. He's just trying to support this guy who's absolutely annihilating this guy's army. And once he makes it about here, that's when I realized, oh shit, I'm going to have to start attacking or else this guy's going to have taken over everything. So I'm going to get ready to start pushing. And you guys didn't see it, but this guy used to have admin buildings all along here, and he didn't camo net his base, so my artillery took care of that. So that was a really big mistake on his behalf, and he's got nothing really to defend against the tank army I've got. So now I start making a tank army here, start moving that in. I'm going to make another tank army here and move in there. And my ally's just bashing this guy apart. And for some reason he keeps airdropping infantry in a hopeful attempt to destroy the enemy. And eventually succeeds. He lands right on top of the anti-tank base and causes that guy's infantry to kill his own anti-tank base. So that's very sad. So this guy falls surely because he doesn't have fanaticism, which is what he would have required. He probably would have been able to actually take out like half this column if he would have had the ability, which he didn't. But luckily for him, this guy decided to build a secondary HQ over here. So I guess these guys were stacked in together and they were doomed for death together. And now you see I've got my army here of 22 units moving, 16 units there, nothing big, you know. And usually I love doing this towards the end of the game, either when I'm losing or when I'm winning. Let's say I'm losing, I'll just grab all of my units on the map and I'll just stack them up in one place so they can hold off and make like a final stand. And if I'm winning, I'm just going to send all my units into the enemy space. I don't care, it just looks awesome, the amount of units attacking. It just makes it look like a crazy invasion. So you know, this guy's still like sending paratroopers non-stop and they just keep dying for some reason, but you know, I don't know why. I think he must have lost like a few hundred paratroopers during that game, at least. And then I've got my fighter squadron here, and then I send it in over here, except there's a shitload of AA, so that screws me over. And then here I'm just blasting through, like there was nothing stopping me from coming through here, except for a couple of super heavy tanks. I think he only had like 4, so then I come on this side too. He's screwed on that side, and then yeah, you can see all my anti-air guns, everything is moving towards there and there. So one of them surrendered. This guy over here surrendered. He was like, fuck it, I'm screwed anyways. So now it's just a race between me and my ally to make it here. Sadly, well, not sadly, actually I won the race. I'll say I won the race because I was first there, but he took out half the base and I took out half the base. It was nice. And at the end I'm like, you know what would have been awesome, and I would love this feature if you could friendly fire in this game, because then we would have just like kept friendly firing each other to see whose army was stronger, just for fun. He probably would have won because his army is more better units. Take a look at this. Yeah, exactly. Well, my army is more of infantry, some tanks, some anti-air, anti-tank, lots of unarmored anti-air units. So, but you know, here's the thing, a lot of people when they do an invasion, they always miss infantry support, which is always needed if you want to capture, and capturing is so effective. Here I capture his tank base, now I can pump out tank units from there. Then you see I'm starting to get some advanced T-34s out, because I got that base. Then I capture this, make more fighters, and once I get in here, I do the same thing. I start by capturing the airfields, and I just move up, and here actually there was a bit of resistance, but you know, my guys took care of that really quickly, so that's fine. And I noticed this airfield later on, so I started going for that. So now I have these huge ass armies just colliding. So literally, this was pretty much total domination of the enemy, which happens often in Ruse. What happens is you just have this huge war where at one point it stagnates and everyone's just making admin buildings, and then everyone has huge ass armies. Problem is because I had so many supplies, and since my ally went to go get these supplies out here, we were one step ahead of them on getting to that point. But if my ally would have been rushed, he probably would have been screwed, because getting those extra supply depots means you can't get units out right away. You have to wait 2-3 minutes for the money to start rolling in. So yeah, you know, there's nothing much to say about this. It's just utter domination. This guy's got his super Persian tank shooting at my infantry and my tanks. Got my infantry over here. I already captured this, captured that. You see I'm just spreading out like wildfire. This is just fire on top of my guys' heads on top of that. So now I start making units here. Make some armored AT. Make some tanks, everything. Like seriously, I just started making anything just to like have a huge, because there's no point at this point. You just make units for the fun of it, and that's pretty much what I was doing. And all my infantry were spawned to set to go back here, so and that's what they were doing. What I wonder is if could you like send your infantry all the way outside the map? That would be crazy. Oh, look at this. This is the fall of him, and soon they will surrender. Look at this. Huge collision of armies. This is when they surrender. Anyways, as you can tell, this was a great game. Anyways, let's check out this. Okay, so I did not come in first place, sadly. I only got 7,000 kills, but I did have less losses than that guy. And, income. Look at that income. I always, every time I play, I always have the highest income for some reason. Because whenever you have the economic advantage, you have the unit advantage as well. So anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Leave your comments below. Please subscribe, like the video, and I'll see you guys next time.